And I'm learning as well. So this is kind of an overview of everything that I've been learning over the last 6 months. But firstly, any swim club can organise a meet. It's completely down to the hosting swim club what their meets may look like, and the formats can be different. So some may focus on an age category, a distance, long course or short course, some new terminology that I've learned, or even just specific times. And as an example, your swimmer may be too slow or even too fast to enter specific meets. But on this slide, hopefully you can see, these are just some of the examples of the clubs that have recently hosted our swimmers and meets. And I'll put our logo up there as well, because although we haven't hosted a meet for quite some time, it is a long-term ambition for the club to host a meet. But the first step in the process is for Heather. So Heather spends a lot of time creating the club's calendar and essentially recommends which meets are suitable for each of our squads. And it's these recommendations that are then shared with our meet secretary. So Kirsty and Carol, they're both parent volunteers, and they do a cracking job just liaising with host clubs and submitting our meet entries. But to do this, they will share details of upcoming meets using our On Deck app, and you can see a kind of picture of that on the screen there. And what I'll just say at this point, if you haven't got access to the app or just have trouble accessing the app, then just let us know in the chat, and we'll get back in touch with you and just help you with it. So that's kind of how we go about it. But once you've got the app, you'll be able to see the details of the meet, when and where, and if there are time restrictions, then details are generally shared here too. And for each meet, you'll also see which squads Heather is recommended should apply for that particular meet. So if you like what you see and your swimmer wants to participate, then you just simply select the commitment button. And once we have all of our entries, these are then just shared with the coaching team. As at this stage, the coaching team could intervene. So, approval may involve a little time trial. Perhaps your swimmer doesn't have a time for that particular swim that they've applied for, so we'll try and do that within a training session. But generally, they are only ever declined by our coaching team if the times just aren't right or the meet just isn't suitable for the swimmer's age and squad. So that's the only reason why we might not put through a swimmer for a meet. And then the final stage, and I think it's this stage that can just lead to some misunderstandings. So once the registration deadline has been, so I just accept another. Aaron, cool. So yeah, once the registration deadline has been reached and the coaching team are happy with all of that, that doesn't necessarily mean our swimmers have been accepted by the host club. And I think that's the most common misunderstanding. It's only at this stage that Kirsty and Carol will submit all of our entries to the host club. And it's really up to that host club whether they're going to accept or scratch your swimmer. And if your swimmer is scratched, that means your swimmer's been declined. And usually only that would happen if the meet is oversubscribed. And generally the swimmers with the slowest times will be declined. So once we know that, and we know who's been accepted or scratched, then that's where Kirsty and Carol will share all the details with parents, and that's usually over an email. It's typically a big PDF file with a long list of all the competing swimmers from the clubs, and it's just really important that you read that email and look for your swimmer's name and the outcome as well. And it's only really at this stage that we would just recommend that you make plans to, attend, and of course just inform your swimmer the good news as well. So just wanted to kind of clear that up, just to make sure everyone had that kind of collective understanding. But Heather, is there anything I've missed there that you just wanted to add?
Sometimes at some meets on the final entry list, it might come up with RES next to it. That means reserve, which means that on the day of the competition, if a swimmer was to withdraw, so an accepted swimmer, if they were to withdraw, the reserve then gets the swim. So if your swimmer is a reserve, really they should be coming along to the competition. If they get a reserve spot and don't turn up, you won't get your money back. Whereas if they're a reserve, and they turn up on the day, end up not getting to swim, you will get the money back. Obviously, it's a trip out, but really, most reserves do tend to, at age group meets, do tend to get their swims. It's only when you get to the kind of higher up levels that you start to see that they don't. So yeah, just that's another little abbreviation that might appear that you might be unsure of.
All right, I'm glad you covered that one then, because that's a new one for me as well. Okay, right. Hopefully that's all pretty clear then. What I wanted to do now then is just